Hi, welcome to the Intuitive Writer Activation Workshop, a free online course dedicated to helping you unlock and access your natural intuitive writing abilities. I'm your instructor, author Camille Peacock. Please support this free content by hitting the subscribe button and telling all your writing buddies. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy the course. Hello everyone, and welcome to Module 2 in your Intuitive Writer Activation Workshop. I hope you are as excited to be here as I am. So today we're really going to delve into the definition of what it means to be an intuitive writer, and you're going to get a chance to identify moments when you have used your intuition to write. It's going to be a lot of fun. So let's get started. Yesterday, I defined intuitive writing as the conscious act of using your intuition to connect with the universe and the energies that want to co-create stories with you. Now, to be honest, if somebody had said this definition to me 5 years ago, it would have sounded like a lot of woo-woo mumbo jumbo. So I wanted to break it down into more conventional terms that might be a little easier to digest. We're going to take it from the top and break down the definition of intuitive writer. So the first part of the definition is the conscious act of using your intuition. And when we say that it's a conscious act, what we really mean is that it's purposeful and intentional. What you're going to find as you move through this course is that most of you are already using your intuition on an unconscious level. It's something that fires at random, but it's not something that you are consciously and intentionally activating and accessing. And that's what you're going to learn how to do in this course. Now, when we talk about intuition, there's a mainstream perception of what intuition is. And most people, when they say you have good intuition, what they're really saying is that you have good instinct. And it's really being correlated with this animalistic survival instinct. If you say an animal has good intuition, what you're really saying is that they're really good at detecting predators. They're really good at detecting danger. And that's really talking about instinct, right? Survival, caveman instincts. And most people, when they talk about intuition, that's really the context that they're using it in. So if they say they have good intuition, what they're usually saying is they have really good instincts about people. They might know right away if somebody is a good or a bad match for them. They might be able to walk into a social situation and know if it's a good place for them. It's very instinctual. And it's very caveman. When I say caveman, I mean it's really tied to surviving. So let's put that into another context. If the caveman is talking about hands, your hands, what the caveman's going to say is your hands are for picking berries. Your hands are for skinning animals. And so this is what I mean by the caveman approach. It's all about survival. And it's a very limited scope. So when we look at the word intuition, I'm really asking you to expand your scope and your perception of the word intuition. Intuition is so much more than your survival instinct. It's really this spiritual antenna array, and it connects you to the universe. Your intuition connects you to everything that you can't detect with your regular senses. Your regular senses being your eyes, your nose, your mouth, your ears, your hands. So it's your connection to everything beyond those senses. Your intuition connects you with everything out there in the universe, and it helps you to communicate with everything that's out there and bring in information and, weave these beautiful stories. And as you begin to use your intuition and strengthen that intuitive muscle, you're going to find your writing going to amazing places that you never thought possible. So as we continue to move through this course, I just asked you to reframe your perception of the word intuition and really start internalizing it as this expansive, intuitive muscle that connects you with the universe and that connects you with everything out there that you can't detect with your regular senses. And when we talk about connecting with the universe and the energies that want to work with you, what we're really talking about in a nutshell is inspiration. This is what writers connect with. And I think most people can identify a moment when they felt inspired. And this is what happens when the universe taps you on the shoulder and says, hey, I want to work with you. This is what's happening. So when you talk about connecting with the universe and connecting with energies, what you're really doing is connecting with inspiration, and you're doing it in a very intentional, purposeful way. Now, the last part of the definition is connecting with energies that want to co-create with you. And co-creation is probably the part that flies in the face of most writing conventions. I don't know about you, but I grew up with the stereotype of the lonely, crazy, tortured writer locked in a little room with his quill and his jar of ink, just struggling to get out word after word, or pecking away at an old typewriter. So these are the stereotypes that we are presented with as writers, that it's this very lonely, solitary occupation. And I'll tell you what, as you begin to build your intuitive muscle and as you connect with inspiration and you connect with the universe, you are going to find, oh my God, you are not by yourself. There is energy around you all the time that wants to communicate with you and work with you and work through you to find life on the page. So it is not a solitary endeavor at all. It's a partnership. So if we break all this down, you can say that intuitive writing is the intentional act of tapping into inspiration and using it in your everyday writing practice. So I hope that this demystifies some of the definition and brings it down to a place where it sounds really accessible and it sounds like something you can do, because you can definitely do it. And that's what we're learning in this course. I'm going to teach you how to do this. So when we talk about being an intuitive writer, there's really a sliding scale on this skill set in terms of building your intuitive muscle. And on the extreme left, what we have is what I call the unconscious creator, and this is where I spent most of my life. It's when your intuition fires at random. You have no control over it. It just kind of happens. It comes and it goes at random times. And then on the other end, on the right-hand side of the scale, what you have is the fully conscious intuitive creator. And this is a person with a very well-defined intuitive muscle who actively engages it on a regular basis, knows how to use it, and knows how to connect with the universe. So I'm guessing most people are here on the random side, and what this course is going to do is teach you how to go from making intuition kind of this random occurrence that you have no control over, to over here where it's very conscious and intentional, and it's something that you can do every day. Now the process is going to take practice. You're not going to get it in a week. You do have to dedicate yourself to it. I would say for me, when I first really started trying to build my intuitive muscle, it probably took 3 to 6 months of really practicing a lot of the techniques that I'm going to teach you every single day and really building that intuitive muscle. And again, I think you've heard me compare this to training for a marathon or a half marathon, but most people can't just step outside up to the starting line and do a race like that. You have to get a training plan, and you really have to dedicate yourself for 3 to 6 months to really getting your body to a place where you can, run those distances and those speeds. So as you move into this work, just really keep this in mind, that what I'm giving you is a training plan for your intuition, and it's really going to be up to you to implement it. And the more you practice it and the more dedicated you are to the practice, the faster your intuitive muscle is going to strengthen and build and become really refined and really become integrated in your everyday life. So just keep that in mind as we move forward. I'm going to give you some examples now. I want to give you an idea of this sliding scale that I'm talking about, the unconscious random intuitive versus the conscious intuitive. So I kind of want to show you the two extremes so you can look at your own life and identify where you are on the scale and where you want to be. I'm going to go back to 2008. This is when I published my first book. It was a children's book called Raggedy Chan. And at this point in my life, I was a completely unconscious creator. I was just going along, doing my own thing, assuming that I was all by myself in this solitary endeavor. And I got to a point where I was stuck. I didn't know where the story was supposed to go next. So I went to the gym, I was doing my thing, lifting weights, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, boom, the answer came. I knew exactly what to do. I went home, knocked it out. This is an example of my intuition firing all on its own without any control. The universe showed up, hi, I'm here to help. And I was able to receive that help that was coming to me, but it was random. I had no control over it. I also like to call these aha moments, and I believe that all writers have these. All writers feel the tug of inspiration. It could be a story idea coming out of nowhere. It could be your character doing something really weird or cool while you're sitting at the computer, or like what I'm describing here, where you're doing something kind of mundane and your subconscious kicks in, your spiritual antenna array opens up, and you're able to receive what's out there and what wants to come in. So I have a feeling that this is probably where most of you are, where you've all experienced aha moments, moments of inspiration, where you have tapped into the universe and brought in these energies that want to work with you. Now, jumping forward from the random intuitive moment up to the other side of our scale where we have fully conscious creation, that's where I am today. And I'm going to give you an example of what that looks like. So today I am working on a series called Zombunist Invasion. It's a Cold War novel, and the concept is, instead of the Russians dropping nukes, they deploy the zombie virus. So that's the backdrop of the book. It's a war story that's mixed with zombie apocalypse. And while I was working on the story, I had a teenage chess player show up. And I'm to the point now with my intuition that I can tell when a character has soul behind him or her, and I can also tell when they're just cardboard cutouts that I can move around and do whatever the heck I want with. And it feels like a weight in my chest, or almost like fish hooks, not in like a painful way, but there's just this sense, like this weight in my chest. And when she came out on the page for the first time, I felt her. I knew there was soul in that character, and I knew I had to pay attention. As I began to work with her and get to know her, it became apparent that she was destined to be the love interest of one of the main characters, and that she's also becomes a military strategist against the invading Soviets. And I was having so much fun with her character and this really sweet young romance that she has with this boy. And I think what I really loved about it is that because this is a war story, you have the contrasting energies of really intense, sad, scary war, but then you have this like really young, beautiful, innocent love. So I was having so much fun with it. I was into it. And so as I'm working with it, I made the assumption that this set of characters was going to have a happily ever after, that yeah, war and the zombie apocalypse was going to suck big time, but they were going to make it, and they were going to have the happily ever after. So I started asking for it, and I asked, and I asked, and I asked, and all I got was like blackness, silence, like nothing came through. And I have to admit, I was so focused on what I wanted to happen that I kept pecking, I kept asking over and over, and nothing came. And finally, I'm sitting there one day, and it hit me, and I asked, I said, is Cassie supposed to die? Cassie's the teenage chess player. And the answer was like a thunderbolt. It was a big, fat, hell yeah, she's supposed to die. And it was actually a physical response in my body. It was like this really intense burst of energy that started in my center and like spiraled out through my body. I was like, oh my God, she's here and she's telling me she's supposed to die. And I was really upset by this. You become attached to your characters, as you guys know, and I didn't want to kill her. So I kept asking, are you sure? Are you sure this is what you want to happen? And the answer was always a really resounding yes. Yes, I'm supposed to die in this book. And the answer would come with that physical energy burst. So I would know that her soul was here answering me, yes, this is what's supposed to happen. So I had a hard time with it, but I ran with it as best I could. I actually had to write her death scene 3 times to get it right because there was so much resistance in me because I didn't want to write it because I loved her so much. But I did finally get there, and I gave her a beautiful, glorious, sad death, and I cried and I cried and I cried. And I hope my readers cry as much as I do because it's really, really sad. So after I received this very sad message that Cassie was supposed to die at the end of her book, I asked why. I said, why does she have to die in this book? Because I really don't want to kill her. And the answer that I got was really interesting because I am writing a war story, and war is so destructive and it kills innocence on so many levels, metaphorically and physically. It destroys innocence, and Cassie was representative of that innocence and what is lost in war. And that was one of the messages that's coming through this book that the universe wants people to receive. So that was her function, and that was what I was asked to co-create. And after I finished the book, I decided that I wanted to try and talk to Cassie herself, because up until this point I hadn't seen her, I hadn't had any really direct conversations with her. I just felt her and downloaded her onto the page. And the 2 main impressions that I got were, young, innocent, teenage, and this chess element, which was so strong. She's a really good chess player, and I had a blast learning about chess for this book. So I said, can I meet Cassie? And when I asked, she came immediately, and she showed herself to me as a young teenage girl with really light, pale blonde hair and a lot of tight curls around her head. And she was wearing, it was either like a slip or a pajama, I'm not exactly sure. And she was in a dark cement room. And the only source of light was a grate at the bottom of the wall, kind of where her feet were. And there was a chessboard by her feet. So I started to talk to her, and I learned some really amazing, interesting, sad things. In her real life, Cassie was a victim of World War I. She was from Slovenia, and I have to be honest, I didn't even know if Slovenia was a real place or if it was something that I had made up from a Sesame Street movie or something, so I had to look it up. But yes, Slovenia was a real country, and it was ravaged by World War I. And she told me that her village was ransacked and pillaged by French soldiers. And she showed me this image of everyone in her village running through this field and being gunned down and shot, basically. And she carries so much sadness and loss and bitterness, and it was really important to her that people understand this pain. And it's what she wanted to come through in the story, was this pain. I feel so much gratitude to Cassie for sharing her story and her tragedy with me, and I really hope that I did justice to her in the book. And after she shared this information, I asked her about chess, because she is such a chess ace in my book, and I knew there was some connection to chess. And she showed me the chessboard, and what she told me was that she actually didn't play chess. The chess player in her family was her father, and her father was conscripted to go fight in the war, and she missed him so much, and she would often sit and play with his chess pieces. Even though she didn't know how to play chess, she would just play with his chess pieces. And that was the connection to chess that came through. So it wasn't that she was a chess player, but that the chessboard had this emotional significance in her life. So I thought that was really interesting, that was how it came out in the story. So anyway, I'm done crying now. Sorry, I do cry sometimes when they show up and talk to me, but these are the two examples of the spectrum. This is the random flare of intuition versus being all the way over here as a fully conscious intuitive creator and intentionally connecting with the energies that you're working with and talking with them and bringing them in and communicating with them. So wherever you are on this sliding scale, I'm going to help you get from one side to the other. And we're going to have two main tools. The first one's going to be awareness. That's the one we're going to be focusing on in this module. And there's also going to be meditations, and those are going to come a little bit later. So let's start with the awareness. What I want you to do is pick up your journal, and if you're not using the one that I provided, I want you to draw a line down the middle of your page. And what I want you to do is reflect back on your writing life, on your creative journey. And I really want you to identify at least 5 times when inspiration knocked on your door. 5 aha moments when you received a burst of insight. These are examples of the universe tapping you on the shoulder and letting you know that it's there and it wants to co-create with you. I would love it if you could get up to 10 examples of this happening in your life. And the reason I want you to really dig and find these gems is because what we're doing is we are reframing those experiences. Those weren't just random moments of your neurons firing off ideas. Those were really moments of your intuition raising its head, connecting with the universe, and tapping into the energies that want to work with you, of tapping into inspiration. So I want you to start reframing those experiences and seeing them through this new set of glasses. And then going forward, as you're writing, every time you have one of these moments, when you have an aha moment or inspiration, I want you to write it down, because the more examples that you can give yourself, the stronger your intuitive muscle is going to become. And you're also going to start getting really good at recognizing when the universe is speaking to you. It's almost second nature to me now, because I do it so often. I'll just get something like, oh, okay, got it, got the message, okay, it's coming in. And it's going to get like that for you. Like you're just going to start feeling and connecting with all these beautiful things that are out there that want to work with you. So building awareness is the first key. So go ahead and grab your journal and get started on the exercise, and I will see everyone back here tomorrow for Module 3. Thanks for being here. See you all soon. Bye. Would you like to maximize the content of the Intuitive Writer Activation course? Be sure to download the free Intuitive Writer Activation Workbook, a companion PDF workbook designed to supplement and enhance the overall experience of the Intuitive Writer Activation Workshop. You can access this free workbook by joining the Intuitive Writer newsletter. Just click the link in the show notes to subscribe, and you'll receive the link to download your free PDF workbook. Thanks so much, and please be sure to support the free content on this channel by hitting the subscribe button and sharing it with all your writing buddies. Thanks so much.